So now we will talk about community engagement in Web3, and this is a huge difference how corporates have to think about how to engage with their follower base, with their customers.
Nice to meet you all. For those of you who haven't chance to meet yet, I'm Damien. I'm a new partner at Blockwall, and I've been at the firm for about 6 months now. So very happy to get to meet the crowd today, and I'm hoping you have a great day already. We'll try to make it even better with our next panel, which is going to be about community engagement. And this is quite a broad term that has been coined out a lot when it comes to Web3 projects. But not only, community engagement has been there for century, and it's true for any kind of project that actually tries to build up upon a community of people that actually, evangelize and help the project, be known to many. So especially for Web3, and I'm going to sit because otherwise it's going to be weird. Especially for Web3, we have been joined today by Mathis and Martin to host this great panel. I want to say a few words first about the topic, and then I will introduce you much in detail. But before everybody wonders where is Yvan, because there was supposed to be a third speaker here with us on the panel. Unfortunately, his train didn't arrive in time, and I hope we don't have anybody from Deutsche Bahn in the room, otherwise I will get angry. But I guess this is how it is. So on to our topic. I would like to start and kick things off by just giving out a few words on why community engagement is so much important for Web3 in itself. See, it's not just a buzzword that we've been tossing around. It's very much the bedrock and the foundation of every good Web3 projects. Because by nature, Web3 is much more like an open source project, right? And you need a community of people to be able to evangelize, as I said, this project both from a cultural standpoint, but also financially speaking, right? If nobody believes in a project which is decentralized, then it means that most likely you won't be able even to run the network. So that's why it's so much important, and I think it's great that we have here on stage two people that have been heavily involved in making community a thing, but are also experts on that specific topic. So as said, I'm happy to welcome Mathis, who's the founder and CEO of Zili. Zili is a community engagement platform which helps community to basically projects to build community around themselves, to engage with them through automation of workflows related to community engagement. Their product boasts about 1 million users, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mathis, which is quite something to say in the Web3 ecosystem at the moment. And Martin was the head of P3 at Bertelsmann Investment. So Martin has been involved in the corporate world and has more of a corporate approach to that topic because he represents the digital hub for Web3 innovations within Bertelsmann, at least the investment part of the group. And so we will have two different and multifaceted kind of opinion on that specific topic. So I would like to start and kick things off on a very simple yet important question to set the stage, which is obviously going to be how critical is community engagement for Web3 businesses. And I spoiled the answer a little bit in my intro, I know. But at least we can have two different opinions on that. And I would like to start things with you, Mathis, because I know this is probably what kind of sparked Zili's foundation in the beginning as you foresaw the importance of it.
Yeah, definitely. And it's a good question. And I think to answer that question, we can divide it like by three. First, what is a community? What does that mean, that word community? Third is like how community is changing the world right now, not just about Web3, but for any kind of business in the world. And three, how crucial it is for Web3 organization. And first, what is community? So what we mean by community, it's pretty simple. It's just a sense of belonging with other people, a shared common interest on a subject. And as a human being, we need that community feeling. Like for years and years, we have been doing that with religion, and people have been going to church every Sunday to feel part of a community. But younger generations, they don't do that so much anymore. They don't go to church on Sunday. And it's social human being needs that sense of community. So what they do is they go online and find new communities. And basically, what happened now, that why community is extremely important for businesses is because we are entering that new era where the world is changing, where now there is 3 main factors that push community in front of everything. Is first, tech barriers are falling. Like API, everyone is using the same API to build AI products. And in Web3, you can fork a project in a click. It's very easy to replicate a project. So the unique moat is the community, the base of user. Second, acquisition costs are rising. Google ads, Facebook ads, this is getting more and more expensive. And it's harder to track people with cookie updates, iOS updates. So you need to find alternatives way to acquire customer. And community is a good way to do that. And third, the attention of Gen Z, younger people, is shifting from traditional media like radio or TV toward communities. Young generations spend more time, they don't look at TV anymore, they spend more time gaming online and discussing in niche communities. So if you want to target those kind of people, that younger generation, you need to be in communities. And if you don't do it, you're going to lose against competition. Because now the new winner in that new world, OpenAI, Roblox, Figma, Notion, all those companies, they are community-led companies with much more powerful motion than traditional motion, because community is a powerful and cost-effective acquisition channel. It's a moat, more than a technical moat, and it's improved brand loyalty and customer retention. And if you do that well, you're going to win against competition. And why it's so important in Web3, well, you said it, in Web3 first, every project, most of them are open source. So meaning you can fork the project in a click. You can copy-paste the code of the project and launch it, like in an hour. And so if Uniswap, I don't know if you know Uniswap, but basically it's a big DeFi app. If the user of Uniswap decide to replicate the business and go away with it, they can. So it's very important to build a strong community and a sense of belonging, because people can live with your project. And second, most of Web3 projects cannot even use Google ads and Facebook ads. So it's not even a problem that acquisition costs rise for them. The problem is just to acquire users. They cannot use Google ads and Facebook ads because crypto-related stuff are most of the time forbidden to access those platforms for now. So they have only the community to grow their user base. And yeah, Web3 projects are community-owned projects. From the beginning, as a user, you own a part of the project. You are not only a user from the company, from the product, but also most of the time an investor and an ambassador. So you play multiple roles around the project. So you really have a strong sense of belonging with that product. And that's why it's crucial for Web3 companies to leverage their community.
Indeed. And I mean, you said something that is really interesting, which we'll probably also we'll talk a lot during this panel, is about the newer generations. Because they have a way different way of interacting with the brands and or the companies of today than in the past, right? Where we would push content to them, whereas now it's being, I mean, the interaction is much stronger. And maybe we can jump onto you, Martin. Maybe you could tell us a bit more on how do you see the role of community engagement in more corporate setups like this? Because obviously Bertelsmann has a lot of activities and different ones, and as a media group initially, you probably have that vision of pushing content versus engaging with the community nowadays, which is becoming more and more important.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I think we can just copy and paste what Mathis said, because everything is 100% true and completely resonates with how we look at the kind of community angle of Web3. Now, if you take everything Mathis just said, let's say as a foundational framework, and translate that to a media company like Bertelsmann, what could that mean? So, if we look at us and our businesses, we are operating in the book publishing world, where we have very, very strong authors who have very passionate fans, readers. The same is true for our music business, where content creators are actually touching people way beyond the, let's say, traditional consumption. It's actually, as you said, a sense of belonging that is sold, and this is true for all the content businesses that we're operating in. We're not selling products; we are selling a sense of belonging to our audiences, right? Now, the thing is, at the moment, if we look at how the content industry is structured, there's different aspects to it. And when we speak about communities, at the moment, a lot of the community engagement is actually facilitated by labels. It's facilitated by different types of intermediaries. The beauty about Web3 communities is that they are platformless, right? If you look at the and try to understand what can we learn from what is happening in Web3, we can see that a community that is forming anywhere on any platform would disappear if the platform goes away. Take Reddit, for instance, or LinkedIn, or any other digital platform.
Yep.
NFTs allow you to actually directly access your community, to identify who are your super fans, who is your actual audience, and it does that way beyond, let's say, the typical mechanisms that we know from the big platforms, where you kind of build social graphs around age, around their geographic location. You can actually go much more deeper and understand where the intersections are in a much more contextual way. Now, again, if you look at what we do, we have very strong artists that are very powerful. NFTs provide them with the opportunity to actually directly monetize their audiences, their communities. They do not necessarily need us on many occasions anymore, at least once they wake up and understand what the value proposition of all of this is, right?
Yeah.
We've seen that with Snoop Dogg, we've seen that with Nas, we've seen that with many powerful actors, and we already saw that before Web3 with platforms like Patreon, where big authors, big creators actually have their own loyal group of people, their own community that they are kind of playing with, in a sense, in a different, more direct way. Now, if we see that advertisement revenues obviously are decreasing constantly, the traditional TV market is probably not the most bullish market out there at the moment, then we need to think about how is the notion of advertisement and branding changing? And what does it mean for a big company that operates in the content world? And the beauty about Web3 is when you have the opportunity to actually identify exactly what the needs of your audience are, then you're actually able to provide them with what they need beyond the content only. So the way I would like to put it is, in Web3, what we're seeing and what is very relevant to what we do, the content and creator side is actually merging with the brand side. And this is what brands are doing already. They are kind of trying to identify the right communities, the right Web3 communities, attaching their ideas, their, let's say, lifestyle to these brands, and then grow with them in order to have a new sales channel that they can leverage at some point. And now that sounds very theoretical, but if we zoom out and look at what is existing already, then you see it's actually happening right now. It's just not happening exclusively in Web3. If you look at Mr. Beast, for instance, the most popular and most successful YouTube creator, he has managed to build an audience, and you called it a moat, and in a recent article that I wrote, I said it's the most powerful moat in the 21st century is community. He can literally sell anything to his audience and they would buy it. So he opens a burger chain in the US, and people are not even able to get close to this place because it's so packed and crowded, because everybody wants to get a share of these burgers and buy these burgers. So he has his own monetization channels, not depending on, let's say, the typical distribution mechanisms of large intermediaries. And this is something we need to understand as well. And once we crack that, I think we can actually leverage that for our advantage. At the moment, it seems like when you're outsourcing the processes to the communities, you say, okay, you're kind of eating up, disrupting your own business model, which is true in a sense. But if you think about it, the strongest ambassadors for a product or a brand is the respective community. Now, if you incentivize them in the right way, and this is what Web3 changes compared to the traditional infrastructure, then you can save tremendous amounts of marketing costs. Yep. And this marketing activity is actually being taken by those who are most passionate about the product.
Maybe we can jump on that specific topic as like how Web3 opens up, like what kind of mechanism basically Web3 opens up to brands and content creators and companies to actually rise up that engagement rate, which has been the North Star metrics for a lot of projects. And I mean, I remembered back in the days where you would actually calculate engagement metrics on how many comments or share you had on a post, right? Those times are long gone, it seems. And now I would like to discuss with you, like, what are the mechanics that Web3 enables those projects and content creators to use for, driving that engagement metrics up. Maybe Mathis, you want to jump in, because I know it's part of the product as well, right?
Yeah, sure. And I think there is a huge opportunity for corporates to implement a new kind of marketing campaign. Basically, it's a new kind of motion where you have engagement and rewards. So the big revolution of Web3 is those rewards. Those rewards are tokens. You own the tokens, and that tokens, it's extremely granular. It can be a ticket, a voting right. You can do whatever you want with it. And the new motion that we create and that we see now at Zilli, it's like Michelin, it's big corporate doing it already, like Michelin, Renault, Nissan, Fiat, Ubisoft, LVMH, all those corporates, what they do, let's take an example like Michelin. They create a club, so they call it a club, it's a bit cooler than community. It's a club around motorsport, travel, and gastronomy. So the goal is to create a club of people that care about the subject. We don't care that it's Michelin sponsored. We want to bring people that are passionate about those three subjects, which is, of course, the environment of Michelin. And they do an engagement program where they tell people, do a certain kind of action, and you're going to get a certain kind of rewards. And the action are related to the brands. So, the goal of any kind of brand is, when they do marketing, is creating a sense of emotional link. Deeper the link is, better it is. That's what marketing is made for. And when you do this engagement program, you ask people to engage with the brands. You told them, if you spot a Michelin star restaurant, take a picture, post it on social. If you're going to search from some Michelin star restaurant on Michelin products, you're going to discover the universe of the brand. So you build a deeper link with it, and then you get a reward. And that reward, the beauty of it, it's branded by Michelin. I got it, I did it, and I got an NFT, which is Big Bandom, the mascot of Michelin. I love it now. Like I felt a deeper link with the brand actually, because I chased that guy. Some of the action were to chase him in the streets, and now I see it everywhere. Like I look around me, I see Michelin everywhere. I didn't see it before, and that rewards. It's very powerful because when you ask NFT traders why don't you sell your NFT, and they tell you I don't really want to sell it. I'm emotionally attached to it. I don't care about the financial value of it. It's just emotional, and I feel like that toward Bibendum now, the same of the mascot of Michelin. And the beauty of it is now this NFT can even allow me to engage again with the brand. Like my NFT is a ticket for a Michelin star restaurant or for an experience around Michelin. So it's a loop between engagement, rewards, and engagement again between the virtual world and the real world. And it's much more effective than any kind of marketing campaign you can do. When I walk in the street, I see an image, I don't care. So that's the power, I think, of Web3 for corporates.
Yeah, and I think even back in 2016, 2017, we had a glimpse into that with the gaming industry, such as Pokemon Go, right? That kind of dipped in both in the metaverse, but also using kind of Web3 mechanics with those rewards. Martin, you want to add something on top of it?
I think there is a certain field of tension between the let's say the traditional community engagement in Web3 and how corporates operate in the space. Which teaches us a lot. So if you look at Web3 communities, what they are inherently is they are all starting out as headless brands, right? You never know where they are going. Like they are forming under the umbrella of a mutual theme, and then basically the entire life of this community is revolving around the token. The token is a means for voting, it's a means for paying, it's a means for transferring value. Now in a corporate setting, I think the challenge is, obviously, you're not a headless brand, right? You have the typical corporate structure, and I think it's kind of a compromise that needs to be found. So where do you outsource governance, responsibility, facilitate the direct-to-consumer engagement, while at the same time maintaining control about how you're steering the direction you want to go your community to, right? Because you cannot just let loose like you would in a Web3 ecosystem. But I think the interesting thing, and this is where these things come together, it's probably not necessarily on the corporate level per se, it's on the level of the product that the corporates are selling. It's at the level of the creators, it's at the level of the IP. And this is where it becomes interesting, because as I said, once a creator has reached a certain level in size, they will start to think about why they are actually using this cost inefficient infrastructure that is existing at the moment in order to distribute their content and actually tap into the communities. They can do that directly. Now the question is, how do we react? And I think the answer is we need to basically bundle the distribution powers that corporates have with the technology in order to be the space where all these interactions ultimately happen. Even though you might end up making less money than before, in total, you actually increase your revenue pool because all the direct transactions are actually facilitated via your platforms. And this is something I think we are quite far away, because people have not yet understood the mechanisms behind it and what is feasible technologically, but once they do, I think there is a lot to learn about Web3 communities and a lot to manage in kind of maintaining the liberty and freedom and this kind of themed formed mechanism, while at the same time having the control and structure of a corporate.
I mean, have you seen some of your peers doing things already? Because so I know you have quite a few corporate clients, right? Renault, LVMH, Michelin, as you mentioned. What have you seen your peers in the media space doing in that specific field? Maybe you have some examples or...
Yeah. I mean, it depends on how we define media. But I think there is no, and I think if we speak about football clubs, ultimately what they do is they are also paying into communities, right? I mean, everyone in Europe probably would agree there is no more powerful community than the community of a football club. It's people go completely nuts when their team is playing. They discuss everything left, right, and center. And I think every football club in Europe has started looking into this topic. In Germany, this is the case. In the UK, this is the case. ATP Tours in tennis is doing the same thing. People start understanding that this new form of direct-to-fan engagement is opening up new sales channels, and it's actually helping them understand better what their fans need. Now, will they end up in a decentralized structure where the fans decide who to buy and sell and who to put as a striker on a Saturday match day? No, probably not, which is a good thing. But definitely they will be more involved in the decision-making processes within these entities, and that is ultimately to the benefit of these football clubs, right? Now, speaking about media entities, looking at what Bertelsmann is doing, we had a lot of pilots that have been done in the past. I would say they were still quite superficial, but we were also quite early. So some of them actually dived quite deep. We were participating in a movie in the US with Fremantle that was basically a community fundraised. That is a small experiment that was not very public, but it was quite successful because it showed us actually outsourcing cash flows from a film can actually help you make more money than if you would basically finance it on your own. Which is counterintuitive because you're giving up away a share of the IP. But what you have is you have highly engaged fans who are financially incentivized. And I think we need to understand this. If people are financially incentivized, and this is, again, a difference maybe to the typical Web3 communities, where you do the tangible buy-in for more idealistic purposes. If you think about it in a corporate setting, the typical person is very, very highly incentivized by monetary incentives. And if you can actually participate at the success of any project that you're invested in, you will help spread it. And this is what I mean when I say you can outsource marketing.
Free marketing for you.
It's free marketing.
Yeah, I get the point. Where do you think we're headed next on that specific topic? Because so now I feel like, the whole has started witnessing that change, right? And we're seeing tools like ZD being built to help, transition to that new model. But I think it's still very nascent, right? I mean, not so many brands are fully aware. It's still like you mentioned, POCs. Where do you think we're headed next, and how do you see that evolving in the next 5 to 10 years? And maybe Mathis, you're well exposed to your clients' challenges on that topic.
Yeah, I mean, so now what happened is like all those corporates are coming to us mainly, so they are doing things, but mainly through agencies, right? They don't really know how to do it, so they are gonna consult agencies, consulting agencies, marketing agencies, ask them, how should I do that? And what's funny is that those agencies, they come to us and they say, what should I do for that client? Exactly, how is it working? You probably know with all the data that you have, what is the most optimal for that kind of clients. And we do know what is optimal for them. So what we build is basically a recommendation model based on the goals that you have. It's working exactly like Google Ads or Facebook Ads. Today, if you go on Google, you do a campaign, Google is going to ask you, what is your goal? And you choose your goal. Is it visibility or getting conversion? Is it getting like brand loyalty or getting more customer? And based on your goals, they're going to create campaigns and they're going to do everything for you. Write it, you put a budget, they show it, and they bring you customer. Everything is automatic. You don't really know how it's working, but it's working and it's bringing customer. And what we're going to do at Zilli, it's the same thing, but not based on Google, based on the technology of Web3. So it's basically you go on Zilli and you're like, okay, what is your goal? And if you want visibility or if you want conversion, we're going to suggest different combination of rewards, actions to do, and persona to do those actions. So really concretely, what does that mean? It's meaning like if you're a company, if you want visibility, we're going to suggest monetary incentives as a rewards. And if you want conversion, people using your platform, we're going to suggest in-app rewards. So if you have a DeFi app, we're going to give as a reward APY boosts, more return on investment inside the app. If you're a game, we're going to suggest rewards linked to the game, skin in the game. And we call it a community-driven acquisition model. And we believe it's going to kill current acquisition model like Google Ads or Facebook Ads because it's much more efficient, more sustainable, it's cheaper, and it's a moat over time. It compounds. When you build a community, it doesn't disappear when you stop giving the budget like the Google Ads. You know, Google Ads is one shot, while community, it's compounding over time. You accumulate it, and it's really becoming an asset. You invest in the community while you spend on ads.
A question comes to my mind because I think it's really right what you're saying about compounding. How do you kick things off in the first place? You know, because obviously when you start building the project, the community is zero, means you and your founders around. Do you believe we'll still require some kind of Google Ads to kick things off, or do you feel like there's also going to be mechanism now to discover new projects and build the very initial layer of the community?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's why we build Zilly, because you always need a new place to discover new things, and that's why users come to our platform now, is to discover new communities. So for sure, you can discover them on Google, maybe now ChatGPT, through plugins, and soon, yeah, I mean, what we're building is a new way to discover new communities, right?
So your product is going to be that new kick, right? Make the communities known at first.
Maybe. We don't know yet.
Martin, maybe you want to add on the question of where are we headed next? Because I mean, we have a very startup view here of providing the service. How do you guys move? Because you move much slower than a startup, that's for sure. But do you think it's going to be internalized at some point, this very specific competency, or?
Yeah, at some point, yes. But when that point is coming, I think is written in the stars. So what we are seeing is, I mean, let's look back. And speaking about the entire crypto ecosystem, people are always saying, like, in this blockchain crypto ecosystem, there is no use case. Everything is basically based on speculation. Now, one thing to say is that this is actually a very wrong statement. There is 3 huge use cases that have completely transformed the way the world works. One is Bitcoin as a store of value. The second is decentralized app stores like Ethereum, which basically have reached, let me think about it, I think it was the 10 billion revenue mark if you take like the transaction fees and everything that is generated in the ecosystem as revenue, as the second in the second fastest way, only topped by Google. Right, so it's a huge use case actually, and then thirdly you have stablecoins as a means to conduct cross-border transactions much more efficiently than before, and the transaction volume is tremendous. Right, so there is no lack of use cases. This is the first thing. I think there is a lack of understanding, and I think the phase we are at right now is the entire community NFT topic has been burned by the bubble. Where many companies were thinking about how to monetize on this movement, how to make money very quickly, without looking at the fundamentals of the technology. And this is changing now. People are now starting to understand and to educate themselves, to pilot, to experiment, to understand what this means for them on an operational level. And once they understand it, and I think it's going to take 1 or 2 more years to see some of the bigger use cases, then we are going to see a huge increase in adoption, and I think we are going to see a redefinition of the term NFT. It's not going to be, let's say, exclusively related or connected to digital collectibles. It's actually going to be seen as a tool to entirely change the way value is transmitted from A to B, and it's entirely changing the way communities are actually attaching themselves to this value. And then the big drivers are coming. I think the market is going to pick up next year, most likely, which always incentivizes large players to look into something if the asset prices are going up. So the space is going to be more attractive again, which means more attention coming in, more resources being spent in understanding what is going on there. And then I think that bundled with the fact that it's not a Web3 transformation that we're seeing, but a societal transformation where a lot is now happening with regards to community engagement, with regards to online communities. The first movers will start, and they will be very successful when it comes to activating communities and monetizing them, and then many players will follow. And I think what you just mentioned is something that we are also thinking about, is how can we actually build up the capacities to do so, because they are lacking at the moment. And many people are thinking about this, and we are as well.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And just to tie back also to the last panel, I heard a lot about Ticketmaster before. There's a perfect use case, right, for going to concerts, holding a ticket, which gives you access to other things, and then you open up a galaxy of services for users through the ownership of that NFT. So I fully agree with you on this one. I have like a very specific question, which is kind of the elephant in the room, because I mean, it would be bad to have a panel on community engagement in Web3 without talking about the DAOs. So DAOs stand for Decentralized Autonomous Organization. And for those of you who are not very familiar with it, it means projects that are being run on their own by the community, which holds tokens. So think about you being shareholder in a company. You have a vote, right, at the General Assembly of that company. Well, technically, DAOs are companies that are entirely run by the users or the tokens holders. So the governance itself is entirely led by the users and the community. DAOs are a real thing. There are a couple of examples in the Web3 world, very successful ones, obviously. And basically every decision is being voted by the community, be it the salary of the CEO, be it, I don't know, the next development, next strategic advancements. And my question for you guys is that, because this is like really like an extreme, right, in terms of community engagement. Like you're giving away all of the power of the company or the projects to the community. Do you feel like this is a model which we're going to see a broader adoptions in the long run? And where do you think this model shines the most? Because I think it's a very special kind of governance-led community engagement program, and I would love to have your views on it. Mathis, if you want to start.
Yeah. I don't believe in the DAO personally. I mean, not in the current form of the DAO. Like how it's working a DAO, it's like basically you have a treasury account and you invest some money, and when you invest some money, you have some voting rights, and then you need to vote everything. So whether it's like a growth decision, strategic decision, everything you need to vote it, and it's based on the decision agreed or not, decided if there is enough people voting and if there is a majority. So imagine tomorrow creating a new company and having that structure. It's not going to work. Like, it's legacy. It's worse than a Fortune 500 company in terms of operational process. So what I do believe, I like the idea behind it, where there is autonomous organization. I do believe in a format where it's based on engagement. So people deciding in the organization is not people holding tokens, but it's people that we trust, that prove that they are extremely engaged, that they can bring value to the project. And based on the engagement that you have, you will have voting rights and power. So then you could move pretty fast and actually be probably better than current organization. And yeah, I mean, what we do at Zilli is not that exactly. I mean, it's different than from pure DAO tooling, because if you want to vote in a DAO, you use a tool called Snapshots, and then there is all mechanism verifying how many tokens you have, and you can vote everything. Zilli is very far from that. We are more a way to maybe bring the idea of DAO but more agile, where, you're a corporate, you want to have some input from your community. Well, you're going to do a sprint on Zilli. It's working like developer sprint in startup. So you have like a goal. It's 2 weeks, a momentum. And at the end of the 2 weeks, we achieve something together. And it can be anything: product feedback, strategic decision, growth, marketing campaign, whatever you want to do. So you can use it to run a mini DAO. If you say that to purists of DAOs, they're going to say, what? It's not decentralized and etc. So it's not really it, but it's an agile version of it.
So yeah, what you're saying is that some of the mechanisms are interesting in involving community in your project for specific decisions, but you wouldn't, push that model too far because you believe it has its flaws, right?
Exactly.
Okay. Got it. What about you, Martin?
I mean, we should remember that there was a reason why people started centralizing processes.
Yeah.
Right. It's exactly what you say. It's because it's just much more efficient. right? And you want this type of centralized decision making in a corporate setting. I mean, imagine you would say we are a DAO, and the employees decide on their salaries. I mean, this
Good luck with this one.
this would obviously not work, right? But I think there is a place for it, and I think there is a good place for it when you look at things that are not necessarily inherently strategically relevant for the company, but have a strong value for the employees. So, for instance, think about corporate benefits, right? If you say instead of us kind of dictating the corporate benefits that we're providing to our employees, we let them actually decide out of a pool of offerings, and maybe you can even, in a sense, gamify it and say the more engaged you are within internal processes, the larger is your voting share, and the more control you can actually get. Then this is actually something that can be very interesting in terms of employee retention, for example, right? So I think there is a place for it. The same could be true for, let's say, a football club. We had this example initially, right? I mean, I'm a huge Real Madrid fan. Nevertheless, probably I wouldn't be the best one to put in the starting 11 for every weekend because I don't have all the information. I don't have all the details. I also don't have all the contract details for the players. So maybe some people are not playing because they have some bonuses that you don't want to pay, right? But imagine you would say, okay, we outsource, let's say, the design of the shirt for the next season to the community, and the most engaged fans actually have a say in how it looks like. It could really help kind of tie your fans and your community stronger to the organization, which I think is also true in the corporate setting. In the very, let's say, traditional Web3 community, DAO ecosystems, those that actually function, also we should not forget, they are not that decentralized ultimately. There is still like main shareholders that have like a big bulk of the voting rights and can then kind of direct and steer where this organization is going. This is also true for the big protocols, right? I mean, it's not like this ecosystem is completely decentralized. They're using these mechanisms, and I think we can learn from it, but everything that is strategically, financially, operationally relevant, you must centralize at some point, because otherwise you will have an accountability problem.
Indeed.
And this is something we should not forget, and I think this is one of the biggest challenges within Web3 in the, let's say, native setting. Yes, you can have mutual benefits, but it's hard to have mutual accountability. And in a corporate setting, this is simply not possible.
Yeah, fully agreed as well. I think we have time for a few questions from the audience. I'm not sure if we have a microphone. Oh, okay. So, thanks, Roch. Do we have questions in the audience regarding that specific topic, which is pretty broad, but interesting nonetheless? Yep. Yeah, okay, you can have 2 mics if you want.
Yeah, thank you for the great insights. I was curious about your thoughts in regards to building community, because I would say a couple of years ago, when it was about those crypto projects or NFT projects, it was all about building communities, which typically happen like on channels like Discord, like again very somewhat centralized platforms, which also created some sort of hurdle and exclusion for people who just want to check that out. Or even if we look at Midjourney, for example, today, right, you need to go through their Discord channel. So what are your thoughts in regards to the go-to places where you would say, okay, if you want to build a community, this is where you need to go and be present?
Yeah, I mean, I mean, it depends which kind of community you want to build, right? In Web3, people go on Discord because people before Discord, they used Telegram, and Telegram was quickly messy, so they used Discord, and Discord is messy as well. So, I mean, there is not really an answer to that question, which is decentralized, at least for now. We don't have like a tool which is not a centralized platform where I can tell you go there, not even Zilli. And the reason is that the tech is not ready, right? I would love to make Zilli decentralized, but we already struggle to make it scale on Amazon Web Services. So make it decentralized would be like 1,000 times, even more, 1 million times harder. And it just tech-wise doesn't work. So
I think we don't need to do everything with Web3 technologies. I think it was Anthony who said before in the panel, ultimately it's about the problem that you want to solve, right? And I don't inherently believe that Web3 is there to actually build your community or to make it grow. I think it's at the starting phase at least. Later, of course, because once you add more value to the community, you have a stronger retention and you build a moat. But initially, I think you first need to actually come up with, let's say, the group of people that is forming around these mutual core values, mutual core themes, and then start from there. And it depends, as you said, if you want to build a professional community, go on LinkedIn. If you want to I don't know, be more in the content realm, go to YouTube, right? But ultimately, I think the mechanisms that were true in Web3 in many cases are also in Web2 are true today as well, which is consistency, which is kind of providing content frequently to your audience, delivering value. Web3 is not taking this away from you. Web3 can help you actually increase the value, increase the engagement in your community, make it grow at some point when it has, let's say, it reached a certain threshold, but it will not replace everything that exists at the moment. I mean, I could drop an NFT now for the Martin El-Khouri community. Probably not many people would join, right?
I will.
I would join.
That's good. That's good. And then I might think about it. Oh, but you know what I'm trying to say, right? You will still need other tools, and then at some point, once you've reached a certain maturity, it works. And this is why NFTs primarily are used when you are trying to either kickstart your community by sourcing out cash flows, because you're saying, look, I'm a venture, I'm a musician, but I'm also a venture, I'm very risky. You can have a share of my future earnings, but nobody knows if I'm actually having any future earnings. So this is one aspect. The other aspect is I'm successful already, and I don't want to have the take rates of the platforms, which are between 45 and 90 or even 98%. I want to monetize directly and keep 100% or 99% of the revenues. So these, I would say, are the cases at the moment.
And I'm so glad that you asked that question because, and I don't want to spoil it either, but we have a panel this afternoon which might touch upon that, especially on the Eurobit ecosystem. So stay tuned for this one. Do we have other questions in the assembly? Or is everybody already super hungry like I am and wants to go to lunch? Yeah, I saw a hand being raised, right? No? At the back? Okay. No, actually not. Sorry. My bad. Okay, well, in this case, and I think we're already right on time. Oh, you have a question, Leo. Then please go ahead.
Yeah, I would like to jump back to the question regarding the value creation for the Web2 companies. Maybe, I mean, let's consider a big brand like Nike. Nike is a huge brand with an even bigger community. What can Zili do to attract this type of Web3 community to bridge it or merge it to the community of Nike that they have like a win-win situation?
Yeah. I mean, a win-win situation for Nike will be, okay, they use Zili platform to grow and engage their community. So now Nike, what they did, they actually acquired a company to do it for them. Not every company can afford to acquire new companies, and they acquired one of the best company to do it. It's called Artifact. So that's the way they did it. It's a good strategic move, but not everyone can do that. Some other people, some other corporates, they can use Zili to grow and engage their community. And at Zili, well, it's a platform like Facebook or whatever platform that aggregate a lot of users. And if you want to go to platform, it's still centralized. But to discover new Web3 community, you can go on zili.io and you're going to see by different category, different community, gaming, infrastructure, brands, whatever you want. So we could bring actually users, people passionate about Web3, maybe brands in Web3 to Nike. So we could bring user to Nike. It's a bit like Nike would use our community and bridge both of them.
Martin, you want to add something on top of this? Or?
No, I was just thinking about other corporates and how they've solved it. I mean, Adidas, for instance, has launched its into the metaverse strategy. Also, kind of built up the centralized Web3 studio and connecting content ultimately with the brands that they have to offer. And I think specifically for content businesses, thinking about like how they are going to monetize what they have in the future, one approach could actually be becoming the service provider and monetizing on the existing communities. Because if you think about it, What OpenSea has as an NFT marketplace is they have the tech stack for communities to actually launch within the ecosystem, but they don't have the communities. Now, the big media companies, they have the communities, but they don't have the tech and the understanding of this ecosystem. So acquisition plays most likely will be the case across the board, I would assume.
Yeah. It makes a lot of sense. So I think we're over time, and I see Dominic waving like. So I just wanted to first of all thank you both of you guys for making it on time. Hopefully you don't have a train back to your place tonight, because I'm not sure if the train line is working at the moment. But thanks a lot for coming. It was very insightful. Thanks a lot also for the great questions of the audience. We've learned very interesting things on what Web3 brings to the community engagement topic, and I'm super eager to see what's up next also on the specific sector of the industry. So thanks a lot. It was a pleasure. And
Damien.